My name is David. I'm a purple belt under Ryan Rich and Charles Gracie here at Granite Bay Jiu Jitsu. I'm going to share something with you guys that I shared with a newer white belt here that blew his mind, and I hope it helps you guys too. So I'm going to be covering the foundation of Jiu Jitsu and the patterns between every technique. This is just what helped me understand Jiu Jitsu when I was learning it, and it helped him a lot too. So we're going to cover 4 categories here, playing from top position with passing, pinning, and submitting. And then on bottom position, we're just gonna switch up passing with sweeping. And once you get to sweep, you wanna pin and submit from there. So that's what we're gonna be covering. And then at the end, I'll cover, hey, once you understand Jiu Jitsu, what makes the difference between a brand new white belt and a black belt, and what that difference in Jiu Jitsu looks like. So let's jump into things here with passing. Understanding the objective of passing, I need to introduce a couple things. So there's the knee line. If you imagine a line between my partner's knees, the hip line and the shoulder line. And depending on the orientation of my partner, I want to sequence that properly to get past, in this orientation, the knee line first and then the hip line. And so one of the golden rules that will help me do that is called inside position. If I can get inside position here, that allows me to exploit the knee line. I just got past that, then it's the hip line. So like a real quick pass here, if I'm coming over into the knee slide, I'm threatening the knee line, I'm past the knee line, now I'm past the hip line, okay? So when passing, you don't need to know every technique that ever was and ever will be with passing. All you need to understand is get past the hips. And as long as you can do that effectively, it's a legit technique. It's pretty cool. So understanding the right sequence, we've got the knee line, the hip line, the shoulder line, and then your hands and feet. Your hands and feet are just tools that help you implement wedges. And I'll touch more on that later, but all of Jiu-Jitsu, if you want to break it down into 2 things, it's just wedges and levers, and how do you use them the best. So wedges allow me to prevent space from continuing, and levers allow me to create space, okay? And I'll show why that's important in a bit. So that's passing. Now pinning. I get past my partner's guard, but I don't just want to stand up, because what was the point of getting past the guard? So how do we pin effectively? So once we get past the guard, when we're talking about pinning, there's a golden triangle here that I want, the inside position here. This allows me to control my partner's shoulders, and depending on what position I'm in, threaten back exposure and threaten the back. Okay, so when we're talking about pinning, I want 2 things. Above everything else, I want 2 things: shoulder control and hip control. Okay, now there are a couple things that help me do that. Chest to chest control here. This isn't great because I can't control the head, and she can just turn into me, and I no longer have chest on chest control. If I'm here, that won't work anymore, okay? So shoulder and hip control, okay? And you've got some variations to that, like knee on belly. I don't have chest to chest or chest to back, but I'm controlling the hips here. It's not a great position for me because I can't do a whole lot of attacking, but it's a great pinning position. Another one is Keisagatame. When I'm here, again, I'm controlling the shoulders. Okay, not a great position for me because there's not a whole lot I can do submission-wise, but that's another option if I'm just focusing on the pin. So now that we've got passing, we've got pinning, let's talk about submitting. you know, the sexy thing everyone wants to learn, but you don't really need to learn to have effective jiu-jitsu. And I say that why? Well, I could not know a single submission, and as long as I hold this position, this is called mount, by the way, if I can just hold mount for 5 minutes, I'm good. I don't need to learn how to throw an elbow, just people's elbow. You just throw it in there. You just do that for 5 minutes, you're good, man. Or, you get here, you can just get up and run away. So, position is always more important than submission, but let's talk about submissions, okay? When we're talking about submissions, there are a couple things I want. I want limb isolation, okay? If I can attack her arm and get it to a point where both of my arms control her one arm, even if I'm weaker than my partner, chances are both of my arms are gonna be stronger. And if not both of my arms, chances are my back is gonna be stronger. So how do we create that, okay? If we're doing an arm bar, I'm using my back to extend my partner's arm, okay? So even if I'm a lot weaker than my partner, my entire body is gonna be stronger than my partner's arm. So how do we use that leverage to our advantage, okay? That's the idea behind submission. So if we're in mount, we're just gonna be cover him out for a second here. I wanna do a couple things. I want head control, and I want to get that golden triangle, okay? And if we're doing this passing sequence to where inside position, threaten the knee line, get past the hips, I'm dominating this golden triangle, coming over into mount. That triangle that I dominated at the very beginning, I'm gonna use here to get her arm, okay? So I'm controlling the head, I'm flaring my elbow up. The goal here is to get her elbow above her ear. If I can do that, I own her arm, which is very good for me, okay? And I could just keep bringing this over, and I'm creating wedges here. It's all a sequence of wedges. So first it started with my elbow, came up here, and now I'm replacing that with my knee, and this entire time I own that space, okay? So that's the beauty of wedges there. And as far as submissions go, every submission is just limb isolation. So that's an arm bar, isolating the arm, using my back to extend. If we want to talk Americana, pin the arm down, come in under, and I've got two arms on her one, and I'm going to attack the shoulder. Okay, so it's all just limb isolation. So from top position, that's the goal, okay? Now, if we're talking bottom position, rather than passing, I'm gonna be playing guard. So let's define guard. So if my knee line is between my partner's hips and my hips, I'm playing guard. Now there are a ton of different variations. We have certain standing guards. Come over here into X guard. All right, knee line is between me and my partner's hips. Okay, if we're coming down into half guard, my knee line is between my hips and my partner's hips. If we're playing closed guard, same story, okay? And if we're playing a form of seated open guard, like butterfly guard, same story, okay? Now, what I'm gonna be looking for when I'm going for a sweep, because I can't, you know, pass my partner. There's nothing to pass here. They're trying to pass my guard. When I'm looking to identify a sweeping opportunity, I'm looking for two things. I want diagonal control with an X, or I want same side control. Okay? Let's do from closed guard, let's do a scissor sweep here. So I'm coming in here, cross collar, grabbing the sleeve. Okay, I own this limb. I'm trying to get control of this leg now. Okay, my leg wedges that leg. Okay, she can't base out to her left side. So I'm gonna pull her into me, sweep her over that way. okay? If we're going from butterfly guard, let's do another sweep, but with X control. I'll come in here, diving in for my underhook. Again, controlling that golden triangle, getting that inside position. Coming over, and then I control this side. Now I'm gonna control that far X. Load her up on top of me, sweep her over into mount. And again, I've already established that control under the elbow, and I can work that same sequence I did earlier. Come in here, replace that wedge with my knee, and go for the armbar. It's beautiful. It all works that same way. And so every single technique that's intended for passing guard, every single one of those, what are they gonna have in common? Get past the knee line, get past the hip line. Every single technique that's used to pin my opponent, what are they gonna have in common? Control the shoulders, control the hips. Every single technique used to submit my partner, what are they gonna have in common? Limb isolation. Every single technique used to sweep my partner, what are they gonna have in common? Same side control on one part of the body or X control, okay? Once you can learn to identify those things, rather than saying, okay, I'm gonna work this technique, you just say, okay, I'm gonna work those principles. And then you start doing things when you're rolling, in case that's a new terminology for you, it's like wrestling, just jiu-jitsu. Whenever you're rolling, rather than implementing certain techniques, you're implementing those principles, and you start doing things that you're not even aware that you're doing. And as long as you're executing on those techniques properly, or principles properly, it's legit. It's really cool. And so, now that you understand jiu-jitsu, what's the difference between someone that just learned jiu-jitsu, just understood jiu-jitsu, and a black belt? Okay? There are two things, tactics and strategy. Tactics being your short-term goals of like, what's the best way to get past my partner's guard? What's the best sequence? That's all it is. Tactics, and then strategy. How can I layer multiple threats of danger at the same time so that she has three problems, she can only deal with one. Okay, so for example, if we're playing from guard and I'm going for a triangle here, and I get this triangle, I can attack the triangle. I can also attack the armbar. I can also attack the Kimura here. So 3 threats from one position. And so what you'll find with good jiu-jitsu is that they figure out ways to layer threats on top of one another. So if I'm playing open guard, and this is the beauty of sweeps, is that if I'm doing an arm drag and my partner does nothing, I control this limb. All I need is control of the other limb, which I already have. Pull them on top of me, sweep them over. Now let's say my partner knows I like a lot of sweeps with the arm drag, so they're like, no, I don't want to give you that. I pull in, and they're being real stubborn. They keep sitting back. Okay, great, I'll just take you the other way. Okay. Or, with that arm drag, let's say I get past the arm, but for some reason they keep putting their weight back, and they don't want me to take the sweep and bring them over this way. Okay, I'll just take the back. Okay? And so it's layering multiple threats into the same technique. All I'm trying to do from there was sweep or get to a pinning position like that. Okay? And so that's the difference between someone that's just learning jiu-jitsu, is that they can only implement one threat at a time. And someone like a black belt, they got 7 threats on you at the same time, and you don't know 5 of them. Okay? You're laughing because you know it's true. And so I was explaining this to a white belt last week, and I blew his mind, man. He was like, dude, I've never had jiu-jitsu explained to me like this before. I go, I know, it's pretty cool, huh? He goes, yeah, dude. you should be teaching private lessons. And I was like, huh, never once have I ever considered private lessons until that moment. I kept thinking about it, and I was like, huh, okay, I'm gonna do that now. So if you like the way I explain this to you, and it helps you understand Jiu-Jitsu, and it makes sense to you, and you like the way I think about Jiu-Jitsu, somewhere below this video, check it out. It'll be like an intake form or next steps of, if you're interested in doing private lessons, let's do a free lesson just to make sure that it all checks out and pans out. And yeah, I hope to see you soon on the mats. Again, my name is David. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.